Hello, 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 hello. My goblins, ghouls, my witches and demons and snakes. The internet. I'm Hanyo, your dwelling cinephile. And I don't know. I keep forgetting to fix this. The auto emotions are very buggy on VC face. I'm not even making a face. Oh, maybe I am. Maybe I am. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool, but it looks kind of cursed because it's so unpredictable. Like, I didn't even open my mouth. Why am I doing this? Ah, ah, I didn't mean to do it. There we go. There we go. Off. It's good. Never gonna happen again. Until I turn off, which I probably won't, because I'll forget again. But how's everybody doing today? Everybody had a good day, bad day, awesome day, medium day, some kind of day. Not gonna work. 1 second, guys. Can I date the chat? Move it over here. No, I don't want to do that. Ah. Sorry. Oh no, stop it. Stop it. Good? Okay, we're good. I was just trying to get position so I wouldn't have to use the phone for chat. But let me try one more thing real quick. Just to make sure that we're all ready and good to go. Okay, 1 second. And everything looks good to go. Okay. Alright. Let me put this down. I'm gonna start scrolling. If I keep messing with that stupid device. Stupid phones. How dare they be such a convenience to us. Such an inconvenience at the same time. Sorry for starting a little bit late. I was going to try to start a little bit earlier, but I was trying to get in the word count for the day. I almost got in 1,000 words. So, yay! Still not exactly good, though. I'm so majored behind on the project that will make... I'll finish it by the end of the November. But we're gonna keep trying, keep on believing, keep on going. Because right now I'm at 99.08 out of 50,000. So I very doubt I'm gonna do it, but we're gonna keep going. We're gonna try. I'm going to try. I'm gonna finish this project, put it on a shelf for a little bit, then go back to writing my novella, which was what I originally was writing, but kind of got burned out on. We're gonna finish that. Gonna try to get a couple buddies of mine to look it over for me. Then, once I get a good encouragement, good words, good writing tips, editing tips, go rewrite it, get out that second draft, when everything feels good and kosher. I need to go to the red light district and sell my body so I can get so I can pay some artists to draw me some things. No, How about OnlyFans? Yeah, if I made an OnlyFans, would you guys be interested? I mean, I don't really have the amazing features I would say myself, but I say my feet look a bit nice. Huh? You want to see some man feet? You want to pay some big bucks for some man feet? Not sure how we got to this part. Not sure how we got to this. Okay, enough dilly-dallying. Let's start the game. I can't exactly remember where we were last time we played. I think it was... Everybody's still in the parlor. Aunt Eva and the servants couldn't find anybody. No, Aunt Nasui and the servants couldn't find everybody. Everyone's more or less suspecting Eva and Hideyoshi to having something to do with it. And Maria is showing her a more sadistic side of her personality, where she pretends to be an evil witch. I mean, not evil, just a witch. I could all... She's a magical girl. Load. November 12th. Oh no! It's been too long. Been too long. No. Alright. For the time being, I put aside whether a 19th person existed. Announce our theory that the goal of the culprit might have been to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph. Uncle Hideyoshi seemed to be extremely interested, but Aunt Nasui said it was ridiculous and dismissed it.
確かに。
Of course.
そう考えると、あの怪しい手紙も納得がいくというもんや。
If you think about it that way, even that letter from yesterday makes sense.
その動機はなかなかええ線をいっとると思うで。
That motive seems to fit pretty well with the facts.
マリアちゃんに手紙を渡したのが誰かはさておきな。
Setting aside whoever it was that gave Maria-chan the letter. Oh! Beatrice exists! Oh, it's so cute! It's so cute! Even though she was puffing up her cheeks in that cute way she'd been doing since yesterday, I couldn't think of it as cute. Yes, she is. If I poked fun at her, it might suddenly transform into a creepy laugh. There's no hidden gold. However, if the culprit is blindly sure of its existence, and they're trying to make us solve the riddle before searching the gold anyway for themselves, then I will agree it makes sense. However, if that were the case, why would they start by killing the most highly ranked in the Ushimiya family? I see your point. If they want to make us solve the riddle, killing those closest to Kenzo-san doesn't sound like a good idea to me. That's true enough. And if we're going to do with that argument, wouldn't it have been quicker to threaten father in the first place? You think it'd be faster to just ask the person who wrote it, rather than try to force us to solve it? You've got a good point there.
もっとも
Still,
お父さんが
I
並
think
大
it'll
抵
take
の脅迫で
it'd
口を
take
割る
more
とは
than your
思えんが
our threat to make father spill the beans.
金蔵さんをよく知る方なら、金蔵さんが並大抵の脅しには屈しないことをよく存じているでしょう。
Anyone who knows Kinzo-san well would probably realize that he won't bow to ordinary threats.
これだけの財産を持つ後宮家を背負われる方です。
He's the man who bears responsibility for the Ushimiya family and all its vast wealth.
今日まで様々な攻
He's
撃
been
や脅迫に
exposed
さ
to
らされ
many
てきました。
threats and attacks in the past.
それらすべ
The
てに打ち勝
family
ってき
only
たからこそ
prospers today
今日の繁
because
栄があ
he
るの
was
です。
able to overcome all of them.
それに関しては私も同感だぜ。
That's freaking right.
うちのじい様が脅されて何かに従う
I
なんて
can even imagine
Shut
our
the soul of its
grandfather
cousin.
obeying someone's cause of a threat.
ジェシカ、言葉遣いがはしたないです。
Jessica, watch your language.
はい。
Mom. Yes, Mom.
なら
In that
こう
case,
いう発想はどうだろ
what about this idea?
う。いやこれもぶっ飛んでるか。
No, wait. Is this one also way out there? What idea? I couldn't hesitate. Out there, ideas are like bows and arrows. It might be hard to hit with, but it's a great weapon because you can hit enemies far away. They say most people who died in battle were killed by arrows. In a battle, you can't just shoot off one arrow. You shoot a whole bunch of arrows at once, pushing forward towards the enemy troops with a wall of them. So keep shooting, over and over. Create a wall as you push towards the truth.
犯人が隠された黄金が狙いってんなら、俺たちに解かせるのは効率が悪い。
If the culprit is after the hidden gold, forcing us to solve the riddle wouldn't be very efficient for them.
謎を作った本人に答えを聞く方が手っ取り早いさ。
It'd be much quicker and easier to ask the person who made it in the first place.
じゃあさ、
In
俺
that
は
case,
つまり
the question is,
すべてじい様に当てたメッセージってことじゃないのか。
is this all a message directed at grandfather? In other words, these murders were a threat made against grandfather. If he didn't tell the culprit where the gold was, his family members would be killed off one by one. What if we weren't the only ones being forced to solve this riddle? What if grandfather was too? If you think about it that way, it explains grandfather's mysterious disappearance. If the culprit had already attacked grandfather, then, judging by the state the 6 corpses were left in, he should have been left on display, somewhere with that horrible makeup added. But despite that, we still haven't found him. So, does that mean grandfather had been kidnapped and is being held somewhere?
そんな、
How could...
まさか、そんな。
You're saying, how could...
面
That
白い
sounds
話じゃない。
interesting.
つまり、
So, grandfather being confined somewhere,
黄金のありかを
and
話
the
さない
culprit
と
saying
次々に
they will be
殺人を
killed off
繰り
one by
返すぞ
one if he doesn't
脅
tell
され
them
ている
where
わ
the
け
gold is.
その話のどこが面白いのか理解に苦しみます。
It pains me to imagine how you find that interesting. Aunt Nasui glared at her, but Aunt Ava just smiled calmly.
この時間になっても姿を現さない以上、おじい様が事件に巻き込まれているのはほぼ間違いないと思います。
Since we still haven't found him after all this time, I think it's almost certain that grandfather's gotten caught up in the crime.
それを思えば バトラ君の仮説も
You think
無
about
視す
it.
ることは
You
できないん
can't
じゃない
ignore
ですか。
Battler Kun's theory, right?
ジョージは黙ってなさい。
Be quiet, George.
そもそもお父様ってい
In the
つ
first
いなくなったのかしら。
When did father actually disappear?
最後にお父さんの姿を見たのは誰や？
Who was the last person to see father?
多分私でしょ
It
う。
was probably me.
今朝主人たちの
This
姿
morning,
が見えないと騒ぎに
When
な
we
って
didn't know where my
お父様
husband
の
and the
書斎
rest
にいるか
were,
もしれないという話にな
we
り
discussed the possibility of them being in father's study,
私がお部屋にお伺いして
and I went to check
そこ
his
でご挨
room
拶をしました
and greeted him there.
そういえば書斎の鍵
Come
を
to
ずっ
think
と
of it,
借りっぱなしですね
I've been holding the key to his study this whole time, haven't I?
源氏これは返
Genji,
しておきます
let me return this to you. Atnazui pulled out the gold key and handed it to Genji. Looking at the key, Aunt Ava giggled.
ねえ源氏さん、
Hey, Genji-san.
どうせ警察はお父様の部屋
I'm
を
sure
徹
the
底的
police
に
will
捜査すると思
inspect
う。
father's room thoroughly.
何を隠していてもどうせ暴かれ
If
ちゃ
there's
う。
anything hidden in there, it'll just be exposed anyway.
だったらちょっと早く今この場
So,
で話してくれてもいいんじゃ
Maybe it'd
な
be
いかし
better
ら。
if you just told us about it right here, right now.
何のお話でしょうか。
What are you talking about?
シンプルな
It's
話よ。
simple.
お父様の書斎は
Father's study is a
その鍵が
closed
なければ
room
外から入
with
る
no
ことが
way
できない
in
密室。
or out, except for that key, right?
その定義の確認をしたい
I
の
want to。verify whether that's true.
お父様の部屋には入り口が一つある。
There's one entrance to father's study.
あとは窓？
What about the window?
他に出入り口は？
Any other entrances or exits?
ありません。
There are none.
中に入るには
There's no way to get in except the entrance.
間違いなくね。
You sure about that?
秘密の隠し扉
There
なん
isn't
か
some
が
secret
あったり
hidden
はし
door
ないの
or
ね。
anything?
お父様が不在である以上、
Since father
後ろ
isn't
宮家
here,
の最高
I am
女
the
列者は
highest ranked
私よ。
member of the Ushimiya family.
その後ろ宮家の当主代行として聞いている
I'm
の。
asking you, as a representative of the Ushimiya family head.
それを理解した
Remember
上で
that
答
when
え
you
なさい。
answer me.
あの部屋には入り口以外に他に出入り
Are
口
there
は？
any ways in or out of that room other than the main entrance?
お父様の最高の側近だったあ
As
なたは
father's
知っ
closest
ている
aide.
はずよ。
I'm sure you know. Honestly looked a little offended at the part about the highest ranked family member. But she kept her mouth closed for the time being, and waited for Genji's answer. I couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. Why was she going on and on about hidden doors?
カノン君も熊沢さん
You too,
も
Kanan-kun,
知ってるなら教えてく
Kumasawa-san.
れない？
If you know, won't you tell me?
あるならある。
If there's
言
one,
った方がいい
it's
の。
better if you say so.
じゃないと、
Otherwise,
今からある人がとても追い詰められることにな
A
るわよ。
certain person might be driven into a corner in a second.
隠し扉があると仮定
If we
され
assume
た
that there's a
ら、
hidden
私の
door,
話は全て水
then my argument comes to
は
nothing. Aunt Ava didn't specify which person was about to be driven into a corner. But following the flow of the conversation, I had to feel that she was referring to Aunt Nasui.
母さ
Mother,
ん、何の話？
what are you talking about?
ジョージは少し黙ってなさい。
George, stay quiet for a bit.
どうなの？
What do you say?
源氏さん、
Genji-san,
カノン君、
Kanon-kun,
そして
or
熊沢さ
Kumasawa-san?
ん。隠し
Is
扉
there a hidden door
ないの？
or not?
源氏さんはお
源氏
父様が
さん
書斎を改
When you
造した
remoted
時、
father's
施
study,
工業者の監
you
督を
could
して
have
いたは
have
ず。
seen the construction.
知らないとは言わ
I
せ
won't
な
let
い
you
わよ。
say you don't know.
そのようなものは
There's nothing like
親
that.
方様の書斎に
The
あり
master's
ません。
study.
間違いなく
You sure?
片翼の
What
わ
about
しを許され
Kanekun
たカ
or
ノン君？
one who's fall to wear the one-winged eagle? Sorry. What about Kanekun? One who's allowed to wear the one-winged eagle?
はい、
That's right.
間違いなく
I'm sure.
親方様の書斎に隠し扉な
There's
どあり
no
ませ
such
ん。
hidden door in the master study.
熊沢さんは
No. I haven't heard of such a thing.
お父様と親交
What
の
about
深
Dr.
い南
Nanjo?
條先生は
You have a close relationship with father?
私も
I have never heard of
聞いた
something
こ
like
とが
that.
ありませんな。
結構
Very well then.
じゃあいい
So, are you ready?
話を始めるわよ
Let me begin.
とってもシンプルな
It's
話
very
なの
simple. Everyone tilted their head doubtfully, wondering what Aunt Ava was starting to talk about so proudly. Aunt Ava laughed triumphantly, as though she were about to reveal a secret only she knew.
お父様を最後に目撃
Nasui
したのは
Nissan was the last
Natsui
person to
Nissan よね。
spot father, right?
詳しい時間は忘
I
れちゃっ
forgot
た
the
けど
exact time,
今朝の9時
but I
前
think it
く
was
ら
a
いのこと
little
だと思ったわ
before 9 in the morning.
姉さん
Nissan,
覚えてる
do you remember?
私あな
I
たがお
ran
父
into
様
you
の書
just
斎
as
から
you
ちょ
were
うど
coming
出
out
て
of
くる
father's
ところに出
study,
くわしたわよね
ええ、覚えています。
Yes, I remember.
それが何だというのですか？
What does that have to do with anything?
そして
And
次に姉さんが
when
お
was
父
the
様
next
の書
time
斎
you
を
went to
訪れ
visit
たの
father's
は
study?
兄さんたちの遺体が見
And
つ
that
か
was
った
after
か
we
ら
found the
よ
bodies
ね
in Nissan and the others, right?
それを報告し
Together
に
with
書
me,
斎に上が
You
り
went up there to the
そこで
study
私
to
と
report
一緒に
that,
不在を確
and
認
we
した
discovered
わ
that he wasn't there.
ところで姉さ
By the
ん
way, Nissan,
その時お父様
at
の
the
書斎に
time
入ろうと
you went
し
to
て
father's
気
study,
づいたことは
did you
なか
notice
ったか
anything?
しら
気づいたこと？
Notice anything?
何のことですか？
What are you talking about?
ほら
Come on!
ゴミを拾ったでしょ
You picked up some trash, right?
畳んだレシートを
I fold the receipt.
確かにそんなゴミを拾った
I
気がし
do
ます。
seem to remember picking up some trash.
それが何か？
How is that relevant?
そのレシート
I
は
got the receipt when I bought
私が
some
飛行場
candy
に
at the
着く前に
store
寄った売
before
店で
arriving at the
揚げ玉を買
airport.
った時にもらったものよ
Aunt Ava pulled a small bag of candy out of her handbag.
ああ、あの時に買った飴のレシート。
Ah, the receipt from the candy you bought back there.
でも母さん、
But mother,
そのレシートの
what does
話
that
は
receipt have to
何
do
と
with
関係あるの
anything?
ジョージもうちょい黙って聞いとってや
George, stay quiet, listen for just a bit longer. Don't interrupt your mother. Uncle Hideyoshi's expression was a little strict. Apparently, he understood what Aunt Ava was getting at.
本当にこれは気まぐれよ
It's really just a whim.
何かを予見してたとか
I definitely didn't foresee anything,
ましてや夏日姉さんを罠に
or
か
try to
け
set
よ
up
う
a
と
trap
かそ
for
んな
not
のじゃ断
for
じ
not
てないんだか
Natsu
ら
Nissan or anything like that.
実はねそのレ
Actually,
シート
about that receipt,
姉さんがお父様と最後に会って
you remember
出てきて
bumping
そこ
into
で
me
私と会ったでしょ
after last time you saw father, right?
その時
And that
書斎の
time,
扉に私が
I
挟み
wished
込んだ
this
もの
into
な
the
のよ
door to the study.
ってことはどういうこと
So,
ですか
what does that mean?
つまり
Are you saying no one opened the door? Opened the door until Aunt Natsui picked up the receipt? Wait a second.
エヴァおばさ
Aunt Ava?
んレシート挟
What
む
did
なんて
you
バ
receipt?
レバレだって
And would be obvious.
じい様が外出した時に気づいて
It's possible
面
that
白がって
when
もう一回挟み直した可
grandfather
能性
opened the
は
door, he noticed it and found it amusing and snuck it back in the door. Jessica hurriedly argued back. She still didn't really know what this all meant, but she realized that where it was, it would raise suspicions about her own mother.
もちろんバレな
Of
いようにレ
course,
シートは
I
小
told the
さ
receipt
く
are very
折りたたん
small
だわ
so that no one would notice it.
でもね
But even you
レシート
assume
が落
that
ちるところを
he,
仮に見たと
if
して
he
も
saw it fall. He wouldn't have no way knowing how high up to the door it had been stuck, right? I checked it while Natsui-san was taking the key out. The receipt was still stuck not 1 millimeter away from where I put it. I can't understand why you pull such a childish prank. I bet you were the one who did that prank on the door to my room too. The door to your room. It was unpleasant to talk about, so I never mentioned it. But when I woke up this morning, there were the signs of some prank on the outside of my door, with what was probably the same red paint that was scribbled across the shutter. There were some unpleasant marks, as though someone had been tearing at the door. Wait, what's this? Why do you keep quiet about this till now? My apologies. Since so many horrible things have occurred since then, I had completely forgotten about it until this moment. I don't know anything about that. I'm not talking about your door, but the door to Father's room, right? At the time you confirmed that he was in his room, and the time we confirmed that he wasn't. That door wasn't open even once. How did Father get out if he didn't use the door? I don't know that. That's what I want to know. Natsui-san, other than you, who else checked to see whether Father was in his room? Last night, I met with Kenzo-san. I met Kenzo-san when we were playing chess. So I was with him until just before dinner. Who saw him after that? I did. I gave him his dinner last night. Yes. Shannon and I were with him. So at that time, Father was still definitely in his room. However, Natsui-san, when you found out he wasn't there, it looks like all ways in or out of the city were closed, right? But even so, you say you met with him this morning? I don't understand why everyone has become so gloomy. Could someone explain it to me? Father and Mother. Are you saying that what Natsu says about meeting Grandfather this morning was a lie? Like hell she lie about that. Mom's guiltless. Why would she lie? Jessica, I keep telling you to watch your language. All at once the whole room was in an uproar. Aunt Ava and Aunt Natsui confronted each other across the parlor table, with George confronting Jessica. What the heck's going on? Many people spotted him last night, right? But since this morning, the only one who claims to have seen Father is Natsui-san. And then, it's a strange fact we learned from my receipt. So, how can we connect these points together? Aunt Ava urged everyone to imagine it. Sure, that receipt could become an important point, but I didn't know which other point to tie to it, or how. If we try searching for that answer, Aunt Ava probably wants. Well, we'll find that Aunt Natsui lied and acted as though Grandfather was in the room this morning. Has that fact been exposed by a whim on Aunt Ava's? I don't get it at all.
なんで母さんが嘘をつかなきゃならないんだよ。
Why would mom have to lie?
その理由がねえじゃねえ
She
か。
had no reason to lie, right?
その理由は私も知りたいわよ。
That's what I want to know.
でもね、ジェシカちゃん。
But Jessica-chan,
お父様の材質を偽る価値
you
が全
can't
くない
be
とは
sure.
限らない
She had
わ
no
よ。
reason to lie and say that grandfather was in his room.
推理小
After
説でも
all,
たまに出てくる
You
でし
see
ょ
in mystery novels every now and then.
生存時刻を偽ることによって自
The
分
trick
のア
where
リバイ
people
を
fake the time of
偽証する
death
ト
to
リッ
create
ク
an
よ。
alibi for themselves.
No,
What are you talking about?
そんなの聞いたことな
I've
いぜ。
never heard of that.
お父様はまだ見つか
They
ら
still
ない
haven't
け
found
れ
a
ど
father yet.
普通に考
But it's pretty
えれば
natural to
もう
assume he's
殺さ
already
れて
been
いると
killed.
考えるのが自然でしょうね。となれ
If
ば
that's true, there's no doubt we'll find his corpse soon.
その時
If at the point the time of death could be clearly faked, Natsuine-san would be able to recreate an alibi.
わかる
Do you understand?
みんな
Everyone? This morning, when Aunt Natsui confirmed that grandfather was there, she lied. And he was already dead at the time? And then she moved the body to some other location and tampered with it so that when we find it, we'll think he was killed just a second ago. That make it possible for her to create an alibi, even just by just by staying with the rest of us. Then she could say, "I heard something," dash over there and become the first to find the body along with everyone else. Is that what Aunt A was saying?
バカバカしい。
Ridiculous.
推理小説など所詮
After
は
all,
娯楽小説。
detective novels are merely books for the purpose of entertainment.
そんなものばかり読んでいるからそのような不
You
謹
can
慎
only
な
think
発
of
想に
such
至るのです。
an indiscreet idea because you read them all the time.
そうだぜ。
That's right.
死亡時刻を少しくらいごまかしたって、そんなの
Even she did try to fake the time of death. A little all would be blown away in an instant once the police did their autopsy.
古典の世界だったらともかく。
That may have worked in the past. But do you really think that kind of trick would work in modern Japan?
おかしいぜ。
It doesn't make sense.
そうかしら。
You think so?
今朝南條先生が亡くなった人たちの死体を見て死亡時刻を
This
曖昧に
morning,
見積もられたわよ。
When Dr. Nanjo looked at the corpses, he was only able to give a vague estimate of the time of death, right?
検視結果は環境や
Autopsy results
非常に
are
左
very
右されやす
easily
い
affected by the environment and the individual's differences.
数時間単位で誤差の出る非
It's
常
a
に
very
アバウ
relative
トなものな
estimate
のよ。
with an uncertainty several of hours.
しかも困った
And
ことに
unfortunately,
警察の科
the
学的な
police's
捜査は
scientific
明日に
investigations
ならないとでき
we'll
ない
have to wait until tomorrow.
そこまでの正確な死亡時刻を
It
測る
wouldn't be
ことなんて
easy to measure the
ジェ
correct
シカ
time of
ちゃ
death
んの言う現
so
代日
accurately,
本でもそう
even in
簡単な
modern
ことじゃない
Japan.
のよ。ねえ南條先
Isn't
生
that right, Dr. Nanjo?
検視は経験と勘の必要な
Examining a corpse is an extremely difficult task that requires both expertise, experience, and instinct.
誤診率も非常に
I
高
have
い
heard
と
that
聞いてお
there
り
is a
ます
very high chance of a misdiagnosis.
確かに
I imagine it's very possible for a misreading of just a few hours to occur.
しかしアリバイの世界は数時間もあれば十分やで。
For an alibi, that's more than enough.
古典のトリックとちゃう。
It's an old trick.
十分に
It's
通
a
用す
trick
る
that
トリ
works
ック
well
なんだ
enough.
夏日姉さん、
Natsune-san,
わしら
it's
あんた
not
を
like
疑
we
いたいわ
want
け
to
ない
suspect
で。
you, okay?
疑いとうないから
We just want you to
潔白を示
prove
して
your
ほしいだ
innocence,
けなんや。
so we won't have to suspect you.
何の潔白を示せというのですか。
What is this innocence you want me to prove?
今朝私は
This morning,
確かにお父さ
I
んにお会
definitely
いしま
met
し
with
た。
father.
そして
And he told me to keep the one-winged eagle engraved in my heart.
あのお言葉をも否定するというのですか？
Are you denying that he said that too?
それだけは
I will certainly not permit that.
お父様
I
が
won't let you deny that father said those words.
断じて許せません。
あるいは
Oh.
お父様の遺体は出て
Maybe
こないのか
father's
しら。
body won't appear anywhere.
普通失踪は
Normally, a person has to be missing for several years before they're officially dead.
余命残りわずかなお父様を7年も延命し、その財産を独占するには
Wouldn't that be a clever way?
やり方じゃない。
Wouldn't that be a clever way to extend father's nearly finished life another 7 years and keep all his wealth for yourself? Oh god.
聞き捨てなりません。
She just... Oh no, she's armed and loaded. She's ready to fire. The game is kind of... The game froze on me? Where is that going? Okay.
それ以上は聞き捨てがなりません。
I can't let you get away with us. I can't let you get away with saying anymore.
私は
I am Ushimiya Natsui. Although I do not have the right to wear the one-winged eagle on my body, it is certainly engraved on my heart. What do you think you're saying to the wife of Kraus, successor to the head, and the one who will act as such in his place? What is this? Are you going to shoot me with a gun? No fear whatsoever. Go ahead. If only you just shoot. You're just desperate because you can't think of a way out, right? Do it! Just try to obscure the truth with violence. You! It wasn't like Aunt Nisui had been actually holding that gun at the ready and threatening anyone. But as she was egged on by Aunt Eva, she didn't hold it she didn't hold it at the ready. Unsurprisingly, one thing got to the stage. Jessica and Genji-san tried to stop her. Madam, please calm yourself. Mom, you aren't lying. So there's no reason for you to listen to this. Calm down, Natsuki-san. All you gotta do is swear that father definitely was in that room. Why are you getting so worked up? That's correct. Natsuki-san isn't lying. Shouldn't that be the end of it? Then I want you to explain how did father manage to disappear from the room? The window was closed tight from the inside. The same was true for the door, right? This morning, if you really met with father, you must explain how father disappeared from this unopened door, closed room scenario. If you don't, that means you're lying after all, right? How far do you plan to mock me? If you want to argue back, go ahead. That's right. Try explaining it right here, or right now.
そうしたらあなた
If
を
you
疑った
do,
ことを
I'll
謝ってあげて
apologize
もい
for
いわ。
suspecting you.
あの書斎の密室
How
か
did
ら
father
お父様
manage
は
to
い
get
かに
out
して
of the
抜け出した
closed
のか。
room?
そんなこと
I
説
cannot
明もでき
explain.
ませんし不要です。
This game is so intense.
そう
Really?
なら私が説明
Then
してあげる
let
わ
me explain it.
私の立場も姉さんの立場も
Let's take the best part from my
とても
perspective
仲良しな説明なんだから
and yours and come up with a more friendly explanation.
姉さんの言う
I believe what you said about father still being in his room this morning.
でも
However,
次に扉が開かれ
next
た
time
時
the
に
door
お
was
父
open,
様はいなかった
father wasn't there.
ここまでは依存ないわよ
You
ね
don't have any objections so far, right?
あなたの言うことにこれ以上耳を傾ける気はありま
I
せ
have
ん。
no desire to hear anything from more you have to say.
その軽薄な口を慎
Shut
み
your
なさい。
flivorous mouth.
私の推理はこ
My
うよ
reasoning goes like this, okay?
扉から姉さんしか
I
出
can
入りして
affirm
い
that
ない
on
ことは
both occasions,
私が2回確認
you
し
were
て
the
いる
only one to go through that door,
そしてレシートもそれ
and
を
the
立
receipt
証してい
proves
る
it.
にもかかわらず
What's the answer to the puzzle of how father left the room?
窓よ
The window?
窓から出したのよ
He was sent out the window.
夏日姉さんはお父様を3階の書斎の窓から中庭に突き落としたのよ
What the heck? This game is so passionate.
奥様
Madam,
来ない
please
でください
endure it. Girl, put the gun down.
エヴァ様どうかおやめくださいませ
She ain't listening to anybody.
その後中庭に転
After
落して死んだお父様の
When you
遺
left
体
and
は
said you were going to check on the doors and windows,
夏日姉さんが
you
屋
took
敷の
father's
戸締
corpse,
まりを
which
確認
had
する
fallen
と
in
言
the
って出て行った
courtyard
時
and
に
hid
ど
it.
こかへ隠したのよ多分その
That was
時に
probably when
死
you
亡
took
時刻
some
を
measures
偽
to
る
fake the
工作も
time
し
of
たん
death,
でしょうね
right?
クラウス兄さんたちの事件も
This ties in with the
さ
cross
らに
regarding
ゆう
cross.
べのベアトリーチェの事件もひっくるめて
This ties in with the case regarding Cross Nissan and the rest, and also the case regarding Beatrice last night.
ナスシさんが怪しい
There's
可
a
能性
really
が
good
非常に
chance
高いっていうことだ
you got reason to suspect Natsuin-san in those cases.
本当なら
Normally, I wouldn't want to say this,
だがもう
but now that
ぶちまけ
it's
て
out in the
しまったから
open,
には仕方が
there's
ない
nothing else I can do.
頼むわ
Please,
ナス
Natsuin-san,
どうか自分の無
please
実を
explain how you
説
can
明
be
してくれ
innocent.
侍とわしは
Otherwise, I can't
あ
help
ん
but
たを
suspect you.
疑わなきゃならんのや
なぜこの
Why
私
me?
がこの私が
Why must
後
I
ろ宮夏日が
be insulted
この
like
よう
this?
な恥ずかしめを
Looks like we got everyone's view on the record now. Okay, Battler, I'm not sure what that little cackle is. No, it's music. That's okay. I need to take a small smidge of a break. Not really even a break, just like a couple seconds. Maybe 2 minutes. Okay, be right back. Be right back. Back. Okay, we're back. Decided to go a smidge longer than a second. But we're back, and we're gonna be back at it. Ugh, I just got a update about the new Scott Pilgrim show. I want to watch it before I form my own opinion, because I hear the big change is very kind of controversial. I mean, like I said, I don't mind when shows change up for an option, but I'd rather them not hide behind it. Basically, the show's marketed as a perfect adaptation of the comic. If you ever read the Scott Pilgrim comic, the trailer looked just like the comic book, but it's not that. I don't. If they're honest in the trailer, that'd be one thing, but they weren't honest in the trailer. Also, I just hated that people are saying, "Oh, they're giving Ramona a character now." Well, that's because you only watched the movie. You didn't read the comic. Ramona had an awesome character. Yeah, she wasn't like the upfront lead that was Scott, but she had a great character. She always had a character. People who say Ramona had no character never read the books. Sorry, I got into that weird tangent. Back to Umineko. It's useless. It's all useless. Aunt Eva. What? What do you mean by me useless? Jessica looked up at me, hanging on to my every word. Aunt Eva's expression was confident as ever. Unless you say, what is? Butler-kun, tell me. You're only convinced that it was Aunt Eva because you're only looking at the case from a single angle. It's not like I'm defending her, but that bluff of a checkmate isn't gonna fly. I think your reasoning regarding that receipt was passable. It's not a bad thread of logic, but I'll only give you a grade of 65 at best. If this were an exam, that'd be bad enough to get you an extra lesson in detention, right? Oh.
じゃあレシートで封印されている扉をどうやって破ってお父様を失踪させられるというの？私の説以外に。
Oh my! Well, do you could break through the door seal by my receipt and make father disappear? Other than by my theory? It's true. Your theory is an interesting one. And if you could say for sure that there was no way to make grandfather disappear, then you probably would be able to prove that the last person to see him, Aunt Nasui, was guilty. However, since there's still a possibility she's innocent, and these accusations are false, we can't be sure about that. And then, Butler-kun, are you saying someone other than Nasui-san made grandfather disappear? It'd be impossible for anyone else to do it. My receipts prove that, right? After the first time she visited the study, until the second time when we visited it together, the study was a perfect closed room, and when the seal was broken on the closed room, he was already missing. And that doesn't prove she's the culprit. What kind of trick could they have used?
だから65点なんだよ、
Like I
エヴァ
said,
おばさ
Aunt
ん。
Eve, only 65 points.
じゃあここで
So let's try spinning the
チェス盤を
chessboard
ひっくり返
around,
すぜ。
shall we?
どうやって
The question isn't how someone managed to make grandfather disappear from the outside.
どうやって
You should think about
内部からじいさん
how
が失踪
grandfather
するかって考
disappeared
えるんだ。
from the inside.
扉にはレシートが挟まれていたから
The door had the
使用
receipt
され
stuck
て
in
い
it,
ない。
so it could have been used. So it couldn't have been used.
窓も
He also hadn't gone through the window,
外側からは
because you
施錠でき
can't
ず、
lock it from the
しかもエ
outside.
ヴァおばさんが書斎を
And
訪
when
れた
Aunt
時
Ava
に
visited
窓
the
の施
study,
錠を確認してい
she
る。
checked to make sure it was locked.
だから窓も使
So the
用されて
window
いな
also
い。
wasn't used.
その時点では
At that
確
point,
かに書斎は
the
密室
study
だった。
really was a closed room.
これは認めるしか
We
ない
have to accept this.
だがしかし
However,
書
the
斎は
study
永遠
didn't
に密室だ
remain
ったわけじゃ
closed
ない。
room forever.
レシートの封印さえ
Once the
解か
seal
れれ
was
ば
created by the receipt
扉は使用可
was
能になり
removed,
脱出
it'd
可能に
be
なる。
possible for someone to escape by the door.
つまり夏日
In
おばさん
other
がど
words,
うやって
the
じいさんを
question
失
isn't
踪さ
how
せたかじゃない。
Natsui made grandfather disappear.
どうやってじ
We
い
need to
さ
think
ま
about
は書斎
how
を
he
脱
was
出したの
able
かって
to
考
escape.
えるんだよ。じいさまの書斎は
Grandfather's study isn't an ordinary study, right?
源氏さんの話
According
じ
to
ゃ
Genji-san,
トイレからキッ
there's
チ
a
ン
toilet and a
ベッドルー
kitchen
ムまであ
and
る
even a
ちょい
bedroom,
とした家並みじゃねえ
almost like a little house.
か。
For
例えば
example, what if he
ベッ
was
ドの
hiding
下に
under
で
the
も
bed
潜って隠れた
and the two of you only
お
thought
ば
he
さん
was
たちが
missing?
部屋からいなくなったと思い込めるぜ。エヴァおばさんも
Aunt Ava,
そこまで調べてきたわけじゃねえ
even,
だろ。
even you didn't check that far, right?
そして
And then the two of you went back downstairs thinking he wasn't there.
買い替えこの時レシー
At
トは
that
もうな
time,
い
the receipt was already gone.
つまり
In other words,
じいさまは密室で
if
ある間
grandfather
は
was hiding in his
部屋に
room
隠れ
the
続
whole
け
time, it was closed. It was a closed room.
エヴァおばさんたちをやり過ご
And
した後
escaped
に
after
部屋
letting
から脱
the
出す
two
る
of
こ
you
と
go
で
past him.
この
We
密室を
can
破る
check
こと
this
ができ
closed
る。
room right open. We can crack this closed room right open.
何よそれ。
What are you talking about?
どうしてお父様がそんな妙なことをし
Why would
て部屋を
father
抜
need
け
to
出さなきゃ
escape
な
the
らない
room
の？
in such a bizarre fashion?
口頭無形にも
It
程が
can't
あ
be
る
so
わよ。
absurd.
ああ口頭無形かもな。
It might be absurd.
だが
However,
それでも
it still
夏代
shows
さん
that
が
there
名
is
義
a
かもしれない可能
possibility
性は示
Aunt
している。
Nasui is being falsely accused.
エヴァおばさんのレシ
Your
ートは
receipt
完璧じゃ
wasn't
ねえ。
perfect.
チェスで言え
And
ば
chess,
チェックく
you
らい
might
だ
call
な。
that check,
だが
but it isn't
チェックメイト
checkmate.
じゃねえ。そして俺が最高に気に入らねえの
But the thing that really pisses me off
それを
is
夏
how
代
you're
おばさんに
pressuring
釈
Aunt
明しよう
Nasui
と
to
迫っ
explain
て
it, then
それが
claiming
できなきゃ
that she
来るなって断
must
定し
be
ようとした
guilty
エ
if
ヴァ
she
おばさんの
doesn't.
その論法さ。それが
You
魔
want
界
to
と
go down that road? Then why don't you let me?
ここでもう一回
Oshimiya
質問をひ
Battler,
っくり返させてもらおう
spin
ぜ
the
ねえか。
chessboard around one more time.
エヴァおばさん
Aunt Ava,
あんたの
according to your
論法を言うなら
argument,
よ。あんたと
you
秀
must
吉おじ
explain
さん
to us why you and Uncle Hideyoshi couldn't have killed those 6 last night, and then casually returned to the guest house. You've been trying to force Aunt Nisui to explain, so I'm sure you can prove your own innocence, right? Especially now that all of grandfather's wealth has suddenly popped down right in front of your hands. That's right. You're suspicious enough yourself, aren't you?
母さんがじいさまの最終目撃者だから怪しいって言うなら
Mom's suspicious because she was the last person to see him.
エヴァおばさんだって
Then what about you,
父さん
Aunt
たちの
Ava?
最終
The
目
last
撃
person
者
to
じゃない
see
か
Dad and the rest.
バトラの言う通りだぜ
Just like Fowler said, prove that you two weren't the ones who killed them.
僕もお母さんの推理は少し潔い
I
したと
also
思う
think
な。
your reasoning was a little overeager.
レシートの件は
I'm sure the
確かに
receipt
重要な
was
ヒ
an
ントだと
important
思う。
hint.
でもそれ
But
は
like Butler-kun
バトラ
said,
君の言う通り
that's not enough
夏
to
日おばさ
prove
んが
that Aunt
何がしかの
Nasui
犯人である
was
ことを断定で
responsible
きる
for
も
the
のじゃない。
same plot, for some plot.
僕たちは等しく
We're all equally suspicious.
夏日おばさんだけが責められる
It's
道理
not
は
right
ない
for only Aunt Natsui to be persecuted.
誇り高きお父様が
Our proud father crawling under his bed?
そんな誰事で
You call nonsense like that an explanation?
それなら
In that case, why don't you explain first?
特によ
Who killed those six, and how, and then try showing us proof that you were involved. Jessica? What the heck? I don't remember this part. What's wrong? I was right, she's sick. She has like, I think she has asthma.
お嬢様
Milady.
お嬢様
Milady! Jessica suddenly started coughing. At first I thought she was just choking after yelling too loud, but before long I realized how painful it looked. Jessica kept coughing and choking down on her hands and knees.
ジェシカ、しっかり。
Jessica, hang in there.
南條先生。
Dr. Nanjo.
ジェシカさん、
Jessica-san,
早く。
your inhaler, quickly.
ええ、私が
No,
持っ
wait,
てき
I
た
have
も
one
のが
with
あり
me.
ます。
Dr. Nanjo pulled out a bronchodilator, inhaler from his own bag, which was lying on the sofa, and handed it to Jessica. Now to think of it, 6 years ago, didn't Jessica sometimes break into violent coughing fits? You have to use that. However, 6 years ago, I never saw Jessica look like she was in this much pain.
兄貴
Was
ジェシカ
Jessica's
って
asthma
こんなに喘息
always
ひどかっ
this
たっけ
bad?
ここ数年で
It's
だいぶ
gotten
悪くなっ
worse
たんだよ。
over these last few years.
大丈夫な時はいいんだけどね。
There's no problem when she's normal,
突然発作が来ると
but when an
咳が
attack
止まらな
comes
くなるん
suddenly,
だよ。
she can't stop coughing anymore. Ugh, that sounds awful.
お嬢様
Your lady,
お
your
薬で
medicine.
すさあ
Here. Ugh. Taking the inhaler from Kano-chan. Jessica used it with a practiced hand. I'm trying to be like he's saying, ew. I know someone who's been, let's say, in a coughing fit recently, so this is kind of, bringing back some unpleasant memories, I guess you could say.
大丈夫かよジェシカ
Are you okay, Jessica?
びっくりしたぜ
Scared me. It's
大したこと
no
ねえよ
big deal. Don't worry about it.
心配すんじゃねえ
Beads of sweat covered Jessica's whole body, and she couldn't hide her rough breathing, but it looked like her sudden attack had calmed down for now. This disturbance had made the dangerous atmosphere up until now seem slightly unfocused. But that's fine. That kind of battle of mutual suspicion is completely unnecessary. When you think about it, finding alibis for each other and looking for the culprit is probably meaningless. After all, we're just powerless, ordinary people. And when the police come tomorrow, they'll definitely employ cutting-edge techniques and investigate the case thoroughly, solving all the riddles and arresting the culprit.
確かにバトラ
Perhaps
君の言う
Battler
通
Kun
り
is
か
right
しら
after all?
夏日姉さんが疑わしいように
Just as
私
Natsune
た
is
ちも疑わし
suspicious,
さを拭えてい
I
ない
can ignore the fact that I'm suspicious too.
それを今議論し合う
Arguing
のは
about
確
that
かに不
now
毛ね
will surely be unproductive.
明日警察
Everything
に
will
全
be
てを
fine
任せれば済む
if
だ
we
けの
just leave it to
話
the
よ
police tomorrow.
でもバトラー君だっ
But
て
don't
知りたい
you
んじゃな
want to
い
know
の
too, Battler Kun,
犯人を
who the culprit is?
大切な人を失った痛みを
Don't you
思い
want
知らせてやるため
want
に
to let them know the
一秒で
pain
も
you
早く
feel
知
from
りたいん
losing
じゃない？
someone precious to you as soon as possible?
それは否定しないです。
I won't deny that.
これだけの上等を決めてくれ
Even
なか
one
った
day
野
would be
郎
too
は
long to let the
た
wonderful,
とえ一日であった
wonderful
としても
bastard who find this go.
でも
But that
だ
doesn't
からといっ
mean
て
that I want to
18
suspect
人の
the
中の
one of
誰
the
かを疑いた
18.
くはない。さっきはああ言った
Even
が
though I said what I said
俺
earlier,
はエヴ
I
ァお
don't
ばさん
even
だ
want
って
to
疑いたく
suspect
ない。
you, Aunt Ava.
俺にとってのエヴァおばさ
To
んは
me,
ちゃめっ
you're
気
an
があって
awesome aunt.
い
Who's
つも
always
楽し
fun
く
and
させてくれる
playful.
最高のおばさんだ。そんなおばさんと
I don't want to
こんな
trade
罵り合いは
insults
したくね
with an aunt like that.
ここにいる誰だって
I wouldn't want to
そ
do
んな
that
ことは
with
望ん
anyone
でねえは
here,
ずさ。だろ
right?
みんな。
Everyone,
バトラ君に同じ
I feel the same way about Lukun.
意味のない
It's
罵り合い
pointless to
だ
trade
ね。
insults.
多分
It's probably the
これだけの
stress
人数が
built up
朝から
because
一
so
ところ
many
にずっ
people
と
have
集
been
まってる
crammed
か
in
ら
one small place
みんな
since
ストレスが
morning.
溜まってるんだよ。
Probably.
無理もない
It's only natural.
言ってできるも
It
のでは
may
あり
not
ません
be
が
my place to say
なる
it,
べく皆さん
but I think we should all relax as much as possible. Not to the screen. Give it a big blink. Spot for a second. Ava.
わしらも頭を冷やすべ
And I
きと
think
ち
we
ゃう
better
か。
cool our heads too.
レシートの件は
The
確
receipt's
かに
definitely a big clue
お
for
父さん
figuring
の
out
失踪
how
を探
father
る上で
disappeared.
重要な手がかりになると思うで。警察が来
You
た
should
ら
tell the police
話
about
すとい
it
い
when they
やろ
come.
そうね
That's right.
そう
Right.
レシートの
I
一
just
件
felt
で
a little
つ
triumphant
い
when I
鬼の
figured
首を
out
取っ
that
たよう
part
な気
with
持
the
ちになっ
receipt.
ちゃったのね。確かに夏
Of
日
course,
姉
it
さん
isn't
だけを
fair
疑
to
うの
only
はフェア
suspect
じゃないわ。
Natsuine-san, right? Oh, she's actually smiling. It doesn't feel condescending or a lie.
私たちだって等しく疑わしい。
We're just as suspicious.
でもね、バトラ君。
But still, Battle-kun.
レシートの
At
話
least
だ
the
け
part
は
about the
本
receipt is
当よ。
real. Okay.
これ
Don't forget it.
忘れないでね。
Don't forget it.
そして
And
これ
try
がどう
thinking
いう
deeply
意
about
味
it.
を持つか
What it means.
もう一度よく考えてみてね。
One more time. Okay. Aunt Ava, Uncle Hideyoshi stood up. It looked like they planned on leaving the parlor.
結局私たちはこんな推理ごっこしても意味はな
In
い
the
のよ。
end, it's pointless for us to keep playing detectives.
だってどうせ警察
After all,
が
the police will reveal
全て明か
everything
してくれるん
anyway.
ですもの。
That's right. Even if we don't play this detective game, the typhoon will pass. And when those lively seagulls return to the harbor, everything will settle itself. That's right. If you think about it, this kind of crime is completely trivial. It'll definitely be solved. Even if we do nothing. When the seagulls cry. Ah! He said it! He said the title! He said the title!
これ以上、
Natsuine
夏井姉さんも私
san.
の顔を見ていたことな
I
い
take it you
でし
don't
ょ
want to see my face anymore?
私も同じよ。
I feel the same.
確か姉さんは昨日、ゲストハウスに帰らなく
If I
て済む
remember
ように
correctly,
って客室を用意してくれたのよね。
He has some room prepared for us in the mansion, so that we wouldn't have to go back to the guest house, right?
あそこはバスの
No,
トイレもあ
should
るし、
each have a bath
鍵
and a
もチェ
toilet,
ーンもかか
as
る。
well as a lock on a chain to secure the door.
横になれるベッドもある
There's
し、
even a bed to lie on.
主人も
And
マ
my
リアちゃん
husband
とチ
will
ャン
be
ネル
able to
争いを
watch
せず
TV
に
without
テレビ
having
を
to
見る
fight
ことができ
with
る。
Maria-chan over which channel to watch, right?
お好きになさるとい
Do
い
whatever
でし
you
ょう。
want.
でも、
But make sure to be cautious.
くれぐれも用心を。ありがとう、姉さん。
Son,
そして余計なお世話よ。
mind your own business.
姉さんは
I'll
みん
be
なの監
counting
視
on
を
you,
よろしく
counting
ね。
you to keep an eye on everyone, okay?
犯人はこの中に
Because
必
the
ず
culprit
い
is
るんだから。
definitely here.
そして姉さん
And
も
son,
自分
Make
が
sure you
監
don't
視を
forget
さ
to
れて
keep
い
an
る
eye on
こと
yourself
をお
too.
忘れなく。捨て台詞はそれ
Have
で
you
十分で
finished
すか？
taking your parting shots?
ええ、
Yes,
十分
I'm
よ。
finished.
じゃあね、
See you
夏井
later.
姉さん。
Natsune-san.
源氏さん、夕食になった
Let
ら
us
呼
know
んで
when
ね。
it's time for dinner. Genji-san.
それまでチェーンをかけ
And
て閉じ
then
こもってるわ。
we'll lock ourselves in with the chain.
源氏、カノン、お二人を
Escort
客室
them
ま
to
で
the
お
guest
送りを。
room.
結構
We'll
よ。
be fine.
送り狼な
I
んて
hate
嫌だ
shady
もの。
escorts.
むしろ
In fact,
私たちの部
I'd
屋
be
に
more
行くまで
comfortable
誰
if
もこ
nobody
の部屋
leaves
を
this
出ないでく
room
れる方が
until
安
we
心。
reach ours.
ジョージ行くわよ。
Let's go, George.
僕は
I'll stay
こ
here
こ
with
でみんなと
everyone.
いるよ。
ジョージ、
The
この部屋に犯人がい
culprit
る
is
の
this
よ。
room.
そんなところにいるつもり？
Oh god.
この部屋を出るということ
I
は
love her, this
親族
VA.
の誰かを
She's so
疑うのと同じ
expressive.
ことだよ。
Leaving this room would be like suspecting one of my relatives.
僕は
I can't believe anyone in our family is capable of something that horrible.
親族にいるなんて
ジョージ、
Georgie!
あなたからも言ってや
Darling,
ってよ。
you tell him too.
ジョージももう
George
一
is
人前
already
の
an
男
adult
や。
man.
そのジョージの
His
仁
code
義が
tells him not
こ
to
の部屋
leave
か
this
ら出えへん
room.
言わせるなら
Then it's up
そ
to
れ
him.
もう勝手やろ。好きにさせたれ。
Let him do what he wants.
父さん
Father. Aunt Ava and Uncle Hideyoshi left. The only voice that called after them was the sound of the rain. I love that intense scene. I forgot all about Jessica and her inhaler though. Why did I forget that detail? The parlor was being buried beneath the savage atmosphere. When I looked at the clock, I was surprised to find that it was already evening. Had we really spent that much time worrying about these needless things, talking with each other, fighting with each other? Feeling bored, I started scratching at my head when Maria and I made eye contact. Oh no. What do you do? What do you do? She's like she's ready for a fight. I was a little surprised, since I thought she was completely immersed in the TV. I believe it now. The letter, the murders, everything. It was all Beatrice. Let me get it real quick. Not pausing it, just need to stand up for a second. Back in the seat. Back in the saddle. Up in the tank. The letter, the murders, everything. sorry. The letters, the murders, everything. It was all Beatrice. In fact, I almost feel like begging her to come out and take credit for it all. I want it to be the work of a 19th person. Otherwise, the 18 of us would have to keep on suspecting each other. I think believing in a 19th person is better than that. Bringing grandfather outside without opening the doors or windows must be a piece of cake for Beatrice, right? Maria, after taking a single short breath, hung her head and then raised her face again. Go?
そうだよ。
そうだよ。
魔女の前に扉の鍵
Locking
なん
a door
て
is
何の
useless
役にも
against
立
a
たないんだ
witch.
よ。ベアトリーチェは72チー
Beatrice
全て
is
に精
familiar
通する。
with all 72 demons.
33位のガープは
The 33rd rank gap
望む場所へ瞬
gives
時
the
に
power
運
to
ぶ力
instantly
を与
carry
え
the
るし、
desired person to any location.
彼女にとってどのような
To,
密室
to
に閉じ
her,
こもった人
taking
間
a
だろうと
person out of any
連れ出
closed
すことは
room
難しいこと
isn't
でも
hard at
何で
all.
もないんだ
You
よ。
see? Which is sure incredible.
頼むから
Tell her
もしまだ事件
if
を
she
起こ
feels
す
like committing another crime,
絶対に人間に
to
は
do
無
it
理
in
な
a way
ことを
that
して
no human could,
俺に19人目
and
を
make me believe that a 19th person,
いや
no,
魔女の存在を
wait.
信じさせてくれよ
exist.
いいよ。
Okay,
あったら伝え
if I
て
meet
おくよ
her, I'll tell her. Crap. Nothing made sense to me for a while now. Just when I want to believe in a 19th person, I deny it. And just when I want to believe that there are only 18, I deny that too. Even though I want there to be more than just 18 people here. I can't accept the existence of a 19th person. In short, even though there are more than 18 people, there are less than 19 people. The number of people in this mansion is 19x 19. So the number of people can't be represented by any integer. However, it's possible for there to be anything after that decimal point. You shouldn't be able to show the number of people with anything but an integer. And yet, 19 greater than x greater than 18. How do you explain the fascination, the fraction that is less than 1? In no other words, the 19th person was something that couldn't be seen. That's why, since you can't only write the number of people as an integer, you couldn't see that person. That witch couldn't be seen because Beatrice has no body. Therefore, she's invisible. Is there a 19th person or not? Does the witch exist or not? 18 greater than 19 by greater than 18? The witch exists somewhere in that X. On this island. In the middle of this typhoon, there is a witch. And her name is Beatrice. Umineko no kokoro no ni. Oh, I'm in minutes for it. Hour 26. Yeah, keep going. The uncomfortable atmosphere continued even after those two left. It was thick with the idea that simply thinking about the culprit's identity would be the same as deciding whom to suspect. Would be the same as deciding who to suspect. It had begun to feel like discussion of the case was itself taboo. So, no one mentioned the case, at least out loud. However, those thoughts filled our minds. All that we couldn't say out loud made our heads feel like they were going to explode. So at least, on the outside, the parlor had once again regained its calm mood. Everything was left unsettled. And it feels like the rain's gotten a little lighter. Still pouring down. Even if it stopped, no boat on this island. Might just be nice if the boat came quickly tomorrow.
洋館バカンスは
I
も
had
うお
enough of
腹
this
いっぱいだ
Western
ぜ。
Mansion vacation.
母さん
Mom,
明日
when will the
船
boat
は
come
いつ来
tomorrow?
るのかな。
本来なら帰りの船は今日の3時に
Normally,
来て
the
くれる
boat
こ
to
とに
take
なっ
them
てい
back
ま
would
し
be
た。
will arrive at 3 o'clock today.
先方も台風が過
They
ぎたら
probably
来
sent
直
us
す
a
と
phone
電話
call
して
to
くれた
say
でしょうが、
that it would come
あ
after
あいう
typhoon
電話は普通
passed.
ですから。
But unfortunately, the phones aren't working.
でも向こうも子供の使いではあ
But
りませ
they
ん。
aren't children over there.
客人の方々の
They were
送
told
迎
to
目
drop.
的だと教えてありますから、
They were told to both drop off and collect our guests.
おそらく明日の朝
So
一
they
番
will
で、
most likely arrive first thing tomorrow morning.
多分9時頃くらいに来て
Probably
くれるで
about
しょう。
9, I believe. It was completely black outside. When I looked at the clock, I realized it was just past 7. I was starting to get hungry. In the kitchen, Kumazawa was cooking enthusiastically. She had laid out a variety of dishes, and while they didn't match the level of Golda's artful cooking, they were still quite gorgeous. In fact, an act of kindness from Kumazawa, who was trying to alleviate everyone's low spirits with some food. Kumazawa wasn't nearly as talented as a professional cook like Golda, but she was far from unskilled. On the contrary, since she had brought up in a fishing village, the simple food she created was something highly praised. Kanan arranged the food Kumasawa had finished creating on plates under her direction. Kanan also helped in the kitchen sometimes, but since he was rarely placed in that role, he was slightly awkward, even though he tried his best. Conscious about the fact that he couldn't clearly arrange the food, Kanan's expression darkened slightly. But Gonzalo smiled as though everything was fine.
綺麗に盛り
It's
付けられ
arranged
てますよ。
beautifully.
カノン君もお上手ですよ。
Aren't you skilled?
シャノン姉さんだったら
If it had been Shannon Nei-san,
もっと
it
綺
would
麗
have
に
looked even more beautiful. Kanan stopped arranging the food for a bit and hung his head. Shannon was the one who had always assisted Kumasawa in her cooking. Tonight, Kanan was doing it instead. And as he remembered Shannon's face in her brutal end, he grimaced.
今は忘れなさい。
Forget that for now. Genji spoke kindly to Kanan as he advanced a pawn. Nanjo had escaped from the parlor once the mood had grown sour, and Genji had become his opponent in a game of chess upon Nanjo's request.
はい
Yes,
今は
I
忘
will
れま
forget it
す
for now. Indeed,
それがいいだろう。
that was probably for the best. Genji purposely rearranged from facing Kanan as he spoke. He did so because he understood that it might make things tougher on Kanan if he noticed that someone was looking at his eyes. Nanjo also understood that and held back any thoughtless words.
金蔵さんもどこへ
No
行
wonder
かれ
what
たんでしょう
Kinzo-san
な。
has gone.
ご無事だと
I hope
いい
he's
の
safe.
ですが。
I hope he's safe.
わかりませ
I
ん。
do not know.
ただ、
However, I believe everything has proceeded as the master had hoped
仕
and
組まれた
arranged
ことの
for.
ように思っています。それを邪
To
推する
distrust
ことは
that would exceed
親
my
方
role
様にお仕えす
as
る株
furniture
に
in service to the
過ぎた
master.
ことです。源氏さんは
Aren't you
怖くない
scared,
のですか？
Genji-san?
私には今夜
I'm
まだ
frightened
何
that
か
something bad will
良く
occur
ないこと
again
が
tonight.
起こるような気がして怖いのです。怖いことなど
I have nothing to be afraid of.
私はただ
I serve the Ushimiya
後ろ
family,
宮家にお仕えするだ
and
け
that
で
is
す。
all. Nanjo sighed through his nose and made a carefully considered move. Nanja was very slightly dubious. Could Genji possibly thinking that he'd be left out of this? He couldn't even imagine what was happening inside this mansion. But he definitely couldn't deny the possibility that Kenzo had devised something. If you... Sorry for that. If you liken this island to chess, Kenzo had opened the game, and as a result, 6 pieces have been defeated. Could it be that Genji was calm because he believed he alone was on the outside of the chessboard, and therefore safe? Nanjo thought about it. Isn't everyone just a piece on this chessboard, lined up equally without any expectations? Wasn't even Genji, who had gained more of Kenzo's trust than anyone. No, who was confident of his position as Kenzo's only close friend. Just another one of the pieces laid out on the chessboard.
Genji-san,
I am truly frightened about tonight. I hope with all my heart that we will be safe if tomorrow morning comes. That's a good thinking, Doc. That's wishful thinking. The guest room Eva Hideyoshi moved into had originally been built to house guests before the guest house construction. Until a few years ago, they had stayed in these rooms every family conference, and were very familiar with them. This room was just like a room at a hotel, with a bedroom and a bathroom. So even though they were still shut in, it was far more comfortable than the parlor.
やっぱり家族だけだとリラックスできるな。
Guess it's true. You can relax more when you're alone with your family.
他のみんなも客室にこもって鍵をかけてりゃええんや。
Maybe it'd be better if everyone else shut themselves in guest rooms and locked the doors.
夏日姉さんが客間を出るなって威張り散らしてるんだもん。
Natsuki Nene-san said that no one could leave the parlor, throwing her weight around.
誰も口答えなんてできないでしょ。
I'm sure no one will be able to talk back.
あの人、ずーっと
She's
冷や
always
飯を食って
been
きた
treated
から
so coldly.
兄さんが死んでやっ
So
と
now
天下が来たっ
that
て
Nii-san's
張り切ってんのよ。
She's getting excited about finally having so much power. Eva girl. You're kind of reason for that.
まったく、ずうずうしいったら嵐の。
Seriously, how shameless can she be?
まあそう言うな。
Come on. Come on, don't say that.
夏日さんもあれで
Natsui-san's
結構頑張っと
doing
るんや
pretty
で。
well.
お前も
No need to jump on her like
そう
that.
もええやないか。さっきのレシートの件も
And about the receipt
あそこ
earlier,
までは言い過ぎやで。
you went too far.
だだん。
Come on.
あそこで言わなかったら。
If I hadn't said it
ない
there,
んだもん。
then wouldn't it be another good time to say it? Ava sulking cutely and looked at the television, sat alongside Hideyoshi, who was laying on the bed. We're playing Hope again?
こうして二人きりになるのは
Still
ずいぶん久しぶりよね。
We haven't been alone like this for quite some time.
そうやな。
You're right.
思えばわしもお前も老けたもんや。
Come to think of it, both you and I got him pretty old.
ジョージが生まれてから何もかも
Since
が
George was born,
という間や。
everything's gone by in a blink of an eye.
本当にあっという間
It
よ。
really has.
子供を作るの焦りすぎたかし
I
ら。
wonder if we were too hasty in having a child. Ava's eyes looked like they were staring off into the distance. Yes, she had thought of it as a once-in-a-lifetime chance. Her older brother Kraus had been unable to father a child for quite some time. 6 years passed after his marriage to Nasui without any signs of pregnancy, which didn't please Kinzo at all. Ava herself had thought that, since her name would be removed outside the Ushimi register when she got married anyway, it didn't matter whether a successor to the headship was born or not. And then one day, she had a heavenly revelation. Or maybe it was the whispering of the devil that she had listened to in her greed. If she could give birth to a successor first, wouldn't she be able to remain in the Ushimi register? If things went well, might she have a chance to inherit the Ushimiya family herself? When she proposed to Hideyoshi, he had approved of it instantly. This wasn't because Hideyoshi had also had greedy thoughts. For Hideyoshi, who had no close relatives, it was a chance for him to feel once more the long-forgotten thing called family. So when they got married, he hadn't fussed over which last name they were to keep, and quickly agreed to have his name entered into Ushimiya family register. One second. I have to screenshot this. That's so sweet. I know all the siblings and these couples have. The heck? And all this family has so many messed up problems, but I really do love Hideyoshi and Ava's relationship. They're awful people, but they bring out something nice in each other. At least that's what I see. It hadn't been easy to persuade Kinzo, but as his daughter Ava knew Kinzo's personality well. So by choosing the time when Kinzo was most satisfied with Nasui, she was magnificently able to make him accept Hideyoshi as an adopted son-in-law. Looking at Hideyoshi, who had achieved success after starting from nothing, Kinzo might have seen a little bit of himself. He quickly grew to like Hideyoshi and approved his transfer into the Ushimiya register. George would eventually become the successor to the Ushimiya family. They had raised him strictly with that purpose in mind. He had been worth their while and had grown to a fabulous young man who wouldn't disappoint no matter where he went. That was why he had not been permitted to fall in love with a servant like Shannon. Okay, I take some of that back. Aww. So when she learned that Shannon was dead and the engagement was now invalid, thought, though part of her had still been shocked by the gruesome crime. Part of her had also been relieved that her dear George wouldn't be stolen by some servant girl. I have hated Kraus Nissan since long ago. He was so full of himself, always swaggering on around, so proud that he could one day become the head. So I wanted to get back at him. Was that just a childish emotion? But in the end, that emotion guided my entire life. If it had been all, then it would have been fine. Because of that emotion, I got you and George. I got you and George involved. I used you Don't blame yourself for that. Hideyoshi got up and held Ava's shoulder. She could feel a warmth underneath, understanding from him. Well, I reached the halfway point of my life long ago. But you know, I had absolutely no regrets about how I lived my life. Not one. I think that since I've been with you, Ava, I've been able to relish an enjoyable life that other men will never, other men will never will. After I lost my relatives in the war, he reminded me that the warmth of a family is. I'm so grateful for the Ushimiya family. Can you think of it as my only one? This life I've led with you, not a single thing's been wasted. It's really been a fun life up till today. Thank you, darling. What the fuck is what is this thing? Sorry, there's like someone cut a bunch of onions in this room. I'm not sure why. Ava hung her head, burying her face in Hideyoshi's chest. Probably no one in the parlor could even imagine that this side of Ava existed. I'm the one who should be thanking you. Until today, there hasn't been a single day I regretted being with you. Me too. I am so glad to have you by my side. George is already a fine adult. Even if I don't look out for him, he's a man who could do his job well on his own. I wonder, around New Year's, do you want to go spend some time in the Maldives? Just us. No one else? No way. Are you always saying that you're so busy responding to New Year's cards that you don't even sleep? None of that this New Year's. I won't read a New Year's card. I'll just stay quiet and check to see if I won the New Year lottery. It'd sure be nice if you won a color TV this year. No way. I don't want to waste time checking the lottery while in the Maldives. Then none of that either. How does it sound? Just the two of us? Taking it easy, like when we were newlyweds? Just before George was born? Yes. In that case? Fine. In the Maldives. I'm so wrong. I'm sorry. It would be wonderful. An island with nothing on it, surrounded by beautiful coral reefs, and cottages lined up to cover the water. Like when we were newlyweds, you say? Starting when? As soon as I finish up with some business. I won't know until I ask the travel agency. But probably for New Year's Eve. No way. Right now? I want to go right now. Ava nagged at his lips in a pelvish yet voracious manner. The only sounds that filled the room were the distant voice of the announcer on the news, which Hideyoshi had left on, and the obnoxious pounding of the rain against the window. That was nice. That was nice. They deserve their sweet little scene. What the? There's a knock on the door, and Kenji-san entered.
奥様、
Madam,
お夕食の準備
dinner
が
has
整
been
いました。
prepared.
お食事は
Will we in
またこちらで
in
よろ
here
しいですか？
ええ、
Yes.
ここへ運ばせなさい。
Have it brought here.
南條先生は
Is Dr.
まだ
Nanjo
厨房
still
に
in
い
the
るのですか？
kitchen?
はい。
Yes.
次の一手を
He
熟
said
考
he
したい
wishes
と
to
おっしゃって
carefully
おります。
deliberate his next move.
ご安心を。
Do not
他
worry.
の使用人たちと
He is with
ご
the
一緒
other
です。
servants.
源氏さんはじい様の
Genji
相
san
手
is
が
good
できる
enough
く
to
らい
trust
チェスが強い
enough
も
to
んだ。
chess to be grandfather's opponent.
南條先生よりも強いら
I
しい
hear
ぜ。
he's even better than Dr. Nanjo, right?
そうなんだ。
That's right.
昔相手をしてもらったことがあるけど、
He played against me,
あれは
but he
勝
must
たせ
have
てくれ
let
た
me
のかな。
win.
マリア、も
Maria,
うすぐ飯だそうだぜ。
sounds like it'll be time to eat soon.
しかし、
But look at
よく
you.
一日中テレ
You've
ビ
been
を見
watching
ていて
TV
飽
all
きねえ
day
な。
long. You still haven't gotten bored.
いつもテレビいっぱい見てるから平
I'm
気。
always watching TV, so I'm fine. Ah,
ええ、
Maria
マリアちゃん
chan
は
sure is a
テレビっ
TV
子なん
kid.
だね。
食事だから机の
Who's
上を
coming
片
so
付
we
けない
can
とダメ
clean
だ
up
ぜ。
up the table? Earlier, we had torn several pages out of Maria's notebook, and they were now a mess where everyone had been drawing together. Jessica-chan began cleaning up quickly. Still, everyone here really can draw. I never guessed.
源氏、
Genji
エヴァさんたち
asked
にも
Ayo-san
せめ
and
て食事くらい一緒
Hideyoshi-san
にしないかとお
whether
声をかけなさ
they
い。
at least like to have dinner with us,
どうせ断るでしょうが。
although they will probably turn us down.
かしこまりました。
Certainly.
お父様の
First
次はエ
father.
ヴァさんですか。
And now Ava-san.
つくづく
It's quite hard to
後ろ
gather
に焼きの
everyone
食
to the
卓には
Ushimiya
全員
dinner
が
table.
揃いませんね。
Natsuki felt her headache start throbbing again, and lightly held her temples. Oh no. Is this really gonna happen? I think it's gonna sure happens. The distance from the kitchen to the parlor wasn't that great, so Genji had gone and come back by himself, but the guest room was a little farther away. Natsui-san had warned him to avoid being alone whenever possible. And just now, Nanjo had also admonished himself, saying it would be better if he held a little more concern for his safety. Kanan accompanied Genji, and the two of them went to visit Eva and Hideyoshi in their guest room. Genji knocked on the door.
エヴァ様、
Hideyoshi-sama.
お夕食の準
Dinner
備
has
が
been
整いまし
prepared.
た。
He waited a short while for them to come out, but there was no response.
源氏様、これは
Genji-sama, look at this. Cannon pointed under the door. A Western envelope had been inserted under it. Normally, when something was inserted this way, it'd be interpreted as a message from someone outside to someone in the room. So, since this might be a private note meant for Eva and Hideyoshi, it was not something that Kanen and Genji were supposed to take interest in. But this Western envelope was one of Kinzo's, the same kind as the one Maria had taken out last night and surprised everyone with. Oh no,
間違いない。
there can be no mistake.
親方様の封筒だ。
It's one of the master's envelopes.
あるいは
Or could it be Beatrice? Beatrice! Even though this was one of Kenzo's envelopes, the letter Maria read aloud the previous night hadn't come from Kenzo. Genjo continued knocking a little harder and called out in a loud voice.
エヴァ様、エヴァ様、源氏でございます。
It is Genji.
いらっしゃいますか。
Are you there?
お返事をお願いい
Please
たします。
answer, Eva-sama.
エヴァ様、
But there was no response from the inside. Sometimes, when the servants went to call from guests for a meal, the guests would be sleeping so deeply that they wouldn't wake up. In times like that, the servants would stick a letter in the door to show that it was time to come out and leave the guests be. But despite that, Genji beat even harder on the door and called out Ava's name. However, there was no answer. Cannon stuck his ear to the door and held his breath and listened for any sounds coming from inside.
テレビの音らしきものが。
I hear something that sounds like the television,
でも気配が
but I
感
don't
じられません。
sense anyone.
お部屋は空っぽかも。
The room might be empty. Genji took out a handkerchief and careful not to touch it with his bare hands, gently pulled out the envelope that had been stuck under the door. It was sealed with deep red sealing wax. Without a doubt, the mark on the sealing wax had come from the Ushimiya family's head ring.
エヴァ様、エヴァ様、どうかお返
Please
事を。
answer.
もうお部
Are
屋
you
には
still in
い
your
らっしゃいま
room?
せんか。
There was still no answer. There was a chance that those two were aimlessly walking around the mansion. This was the home Ava had grown up in. There was plenty of reasons to think that she had gone out on a casual stroll. Genji groped around in his pocket and pulled out the bundle of keys, which contained the key that would open the guest room.
ケンジ様。
Ken also understood what this meant. They would sometimes unlock the door so they could go in and do things like make the beds, but only after they made sure the guests were out. To unlock the door for any other reason, and especially to do so when there was a chance the guests hadn't given permission, and might still be in there, was an action was unbecoming of a servant. But Genji had decided. If the only problem had been that his knock hadn't received a reply, he wouldn't have gone this far. But the envelope under the door was doubtfully one of Kenzo's. Or, rather, one of the western envelopes of the Ushimiya family head. After last night, the sender of this envelope could be someone other than Kenzo. If this letter had been sent by somebody else.
エヴァ様、申し
My
訳ございません。
apologies.
お部屋を
Allow
失
me
礼
to
さ
enter
せてい
your
た
room.
だきます。
After giving that final notice, Genji stuck one of the keys from the bundle into the keyhole. There was the sound of the door unlocking. And after slowly turning the knob, he slowly started opening the door. Light seeped through the crack of the door. Were they in the room? Or had they forgotten to turn off the lights? Clink! It was the sound of the door chain being pulled tight. The chain had been secured. The chain couldn't be secured from the outside. So it also proved that they were in the room. The sound of the voices on the TV seeped out of the room. The lights, the chains, and the TV. All these things made it clear that they were in the room, but there was no sign of them. Genji called Ava once again through the crack of the door, but there was no answer.
ケンジ様、
Genji-sama,
いかがしますか。
what should we do? As part of their job, the servants were able to unlock almost any lock in the mansion, but they had no way to open a door with a chain. The only way to get by the chain was to cut it. That was certainly not permitted as part of a servant's usual work. A creepy chill had already rushed back up their spines. Cannon held his breath again and tried to sense someone through the door, but even so, he wasn't able to sense anyone.
私は奥様を
I
お
will
呼び
call
して
madam and return.
カノンのチェーンの
Cannon,
切断を。
cut the chain.
はい。
Yes. As Cannon hurried away to get a cutting tool, Genji called to him to stop.
待てカノン。
Wait, Cannon.
厨房に戻り、熊沢と行動するよう
Return to the kitchen and take Kumasawa with you.
断じて一
You
人で
must
行
not
動しては
act
ならない
alone.
はい。
Yes,
かしこまりました。
certainly. It looked like Cannon was wondering why he was about to do something so troublesome in the middle of this urgent situation. But Genji had said it without wariness. He didn't care what happened to himself. From the worst case scenario, he didn't want anything to happen to Canon. In the kitchen, Gohan was piling food on the serving cart. And Nanjo was waiting for Genji, apparently wanting to show him a move he finally thought up that might turn the tables on him. But Genji appearance immediately told him that something was wrong.
おや、どうしましたか、源氏さん。
Oh, what happened, Genji-san?
南條先生。
Dr. Nanjo.
申し訳ありませんが、この勝負は一度中断させてください。
Dr. Nanjo, my apologies, but please allow this match to be suspended for the time being.
カノンはチェーンを頼む。
Kanan, take care of the chain.
熊沢、食事の配膳は一時中断し、カノンと同行するように。
Kumasawa, stop setting up dinner, for now, and accompany Kanan.
私は奥様のところへ行く。
I will go over to Madam.
南條先生もご一緒に。
You could come with me, Dr. Nanjo.
何かあったんですか？
Had something happened? Genji took Nanjo, still didn't know what was going on, and quickly left the kitchen. Kurosawa-san,
申し訳ありませんが、
my
僕と一
apologies,
緒に来てください。
but come with me.
何があったんですか、カノンさん。
What's happening, Kana-san? Kurosawa said almost exactly the same thing as Nanjo, unable to take in the situation, and chased after Kanan, who had flown out into the hallway. Taking Kurosawa with him, Kanan went to a storage room and looked through the tools packed in toolboxes and hanging all over the walls, trying to find something that could be used to cut the chain.
何を探してるんですか？
What are you looking for? What are you looking for?
私も手伝いますよ。
Let me help too.
ドアチェーンを切断するんです。
We're cutting a door chain.
大きめの番線カッターは
Where was that large wire cutter?
ドアチェーンを？
A door chain?
どうしてそんなことを
Why,
するんです
why
か？
would you do something like that?
エヴァ様たちの
The
部屋
chain
に
to
チェーン
Eva-sama
は
and Hiyoshi-sama's room.
中にいらっしゃるはずなのに、
Even though they should
お
be
声をかけ
inside,
ても返事がないん
they
で
didn't
す。
answer when we called them. It took Kumasawa some time to figure out how cutting the chain and Eva and Hideyoshi's not answering were connected. But she did realize that this was an urgent situation.
これなら多分
That one will probably do the trick. Kennen took down a very large wire cutter and had been hanging on the wall. It was called a cutter, but maybe it'd be easier to understand if we said it was shaped like a large pair of pliers. Kennen remembered once being warned that this dangerous tool could easily cut through one of your fingers. Kennen took that and rushed up the stairs. He already knew instinctively. He should fight for every minute, every second to open it quickly. Or perhaps it was already. Or what?
待ってください。
Already too late. Please wait. Please wait, Kennen-san.
早く
Hurry! Kuo-san eventually caught up with him, gasping for breath, with both hands on her knees. When Cannon changed his grip on the wire cutters and looked up at the door, he let out an ah, struck speechless. What? What's that? What was that? What?
何ですかこれは。
What is this? Kumasawa is seeing weakly, her face pale. That was no surprise. Because right here, on the door, just like the magic circle had been drawn on the shutter of the Rose Garden storehouse. There was another eerie shape drawn in with a blood-like paint. However, it would be odd to call this one a magic circle, because unlike what most people would expect, it wasn't a circle with shapes drawn inside it. But a slightly more complicated geometrical shape. However, those strange characters filling the gaps, which weren't from the alphabet, were the same kind of ones were the same kind as the ones on the magic circle on the shutter. But the thing that had Kanan struck speechless wasn't how eerie the magic circle was. It was that something like this hadn't been here a short while ago. First, he had to take a trip to the kitchen. After that, he had gone to the storage room to grab a tool and headed right back. Put those together, it couldn't have been more than 5 minutes. How could someone add something this creepy during that period of time? And though it had been just drawn, almost like the door itself was bleeding, several unsettling vertical lines, which lines slowly dripped down, getting longer and longer. Kurosawa's knees gave away and she sank down on the spot. If Kurosawa-san hadn't done this first, then Kanan surely would have wanted to. Beatrice-sama. Come on, you can say the witch's name. Is the work of Beatrice-sama. Horrid! How horrid! Beatrice-sama sure knows how to paint such pretty pictures. Kanan gulped, then readied the wire cutter and approached the door. He didn't want to get close to this disturbing magic circle, and he really didn't want to touch the seedy dripping substance that looked like blood. But if he didn't get close, he wouldn't be able to cut the chain. Fighting this cold feeling, he gulped again, and after gathering his courage, he went over closer, putting the wire cutter up against the chain. Then pressed with all his strength, and managing to cut through the chain far more easily than he anticipated. The chain fell into 2 separate parts, which continued to cling as they swayed back and forth. Kanon-san? There's an envelope by your feet. Isn't that the master's? It looked like Kumasawa had also noticed the western envelope at the bottom of the door, and that the sealing locks had been sealed with the head's ring. Kanan hesitated just for a second over whether he should open the letter first or check inside the ring, but he eventually decided on fulfilling his original purpose. Kanan pulled a handkerchief out of his pocket. This was so he wouldn't leave fingerprints on the door. And his worst fears were realized. The police would want to investigate this room too. He slowly pushed the door open. He was able to more clearly hear the sound of the television, which had been seeping out faintly this whole time.
Eva-sama.
Ava was lying face up on the bed. On the bed with her shoes still on. Kumasawa who had fearfully entered after Kanan, and who had hiding behind his back, screamed a short eek again when she saw Ava like that. Ava's shoes had been the first part of her that Kanan had seen, so the oddness of wearing shoes in bed was the first thing to strike him. But when Ava's head shifted into the line of sight, Kanan couldn't help but let out a short scream like Kumasawa. Right in the middle of Ava's forehead, something had been placed. That's a prompt. That's a nice word to use. Something was growing there. Oh no, not quite. Not quite, young man. No, no. Right in the center of her forehead was an old-fashioned knife. That, or something like that, was sticking out. I prefer to call it a stake. At the base where it was struck, and blood dripped down, staining the sheets on the other side bright red. Kurosawa's knees gave out once again, and she sank down on the floor. Her mouth kept flapping open and closed, but she couldn't even scream. Eva was dead, with some kind of weapon sticking out of her forehead. Both eyes were open wide, and the image of that person who killed her must have been burned into them. But only the mouth capable of naming that person had been shut for all eternity. Even though her forehead was the last place they wanted to look at, they... I don't know. You know, what's that last line? Even though her forehead was the last place they wanted to look, they couldn't tear their eyes from it. Right there, the weapon was stuck into Ava's forehead, standing almost perfectly upright. And on the handle was a complicated design that you wouldn't expect to see on an ordinary weapon. That thing could be summed up with the word occult. It was a vulgar object with a design that might have been of some demon. What about Hideyoshi-sama? Ava on top of her bed, and the other bed was empty. Where was Hideyoshi? After taking a backwards glance at Kumasawa, still on her knees, and stupefied, he checked the bathroom just in case. Sorry, Scold and Slaughter. It feels weird if you don't dance to it. At the moment, he opened the door and was greeted by steam and the sounds of a shower. The bathroom was one of the same familiar styles as most hotel bathrooms. When taking a shower, a waterproof curtain was used to keep water from flying out. Oh god! We actually see it? We actually see his body? Okay. The waterproof curtain was halfway open, and laying tumbled down into the bathtub was Hideyoshi, completely naked with both eyes open and pointing right at Cannon. Just like Ava, a weapon with a demon-like design was stuck into his forehead. Since his head had been under the shower's hot water this whole time, his face was half covered and filthy with blood, like Ava's has been. But the sight of him dead while still taking a shower was tragic enough. Just then, they heard Natsui's voice coming from down the hall. She was probably coming with Genji. Again, with this graffiti? What about the letter? What does it say inside? I don't know. I haven't read it yet. We shouldn't touch it carelessly. Culprit's fingerprints might be left on it. We should hand it over to the police. They went out their way to leave it here. I'm sure they wouldn't have left fingerprints. And Natsui said that she picked up the envelope. And before checking its contents, she entered the room herself, where she found Ava dead. Hideyoshi-sama is here too. This is truly atrocious. Cannon,
シャワーを止めてあげなさい。
turn off the shower.
気の毒にも程があります。
Don't let this be any more pitiful than it needs to be. Yes, ma'am. Cannon gripped his handkerchief and twisted the valve, turning off the shower. In the bathroom, a small jar of body soap has fallen with his cap off. It really looked like he'd been attacked while taking a shower. There was still a small splash of blood clinging to the white bathtub, and the combination of red and white made a horrible contrast. Dr. Nanjo. I understand. No signs of post-mortem lividity. Rigor mortis hasn't begun either. It seemed that an hour or so has passed since they were killed. But even so, how a weapon with such a short handle could do that to the skull? I cannot imagine. Nanjo checked their pulses and their pupils, making certain their deaths once more. As Cannon watched with a business-like treatment, he thought, couldn't you tell at a glance that they were dead by doing all that? Nanjo thought about removing the weapon, but then decided it'd be better to preserve the scene and hand it over to the police, so he left it alone. But a close inspection of the base showed that it didn't have a blade. In fact, it was more conical than blade shape. He noticed that rather than a knife, it was more like a short-handed spear, something with a shape better suited for thrusting than slicing. Rather than a short spear, you might call it a thick ice pick. At any rate, looking at this scene, no further words were needed to describe what sort of terrible purpose such eerily designed weapons were originally made for. Nor was it necessary to explain how they carried out their function. Natsui, hoping to escape the repulsive steam filling the bathroom as soon as she could, covered her mouth with a handkerchief and dashed from the room. Just viewing their gruesome bodies for an instant had been enough to burn the image into her eyes. If she looked any longer, that image would surely remain in her vision for all eternity. The rising urge to vomit was exactly the same feeling she had that morning at the guarding storehouse. For a while, Natsui couldn't help but stand with her back facing the guest room, fighting that sickness in her stomach. At any rate, we can't let George-kun see this room. Seal this room with all haste. We must not see this. George-san saw his parents in this brutal state. But they could tell that those fiercely racing footsteps in the hallway belonged to George, even before he came dashing into the room. George and the other children had been waiting in the parlor. However, when they saw Genji speak to Natsui, when they saw her turn pale and fly out of the parlor, they felt a sense of foreboding. And when they saw a large group of people gathered around the guest room, they were sure of it. Father! Mother! What is this? Another magic circle? Aunt Eva and Uncle Hideyoshi are safe, right? Hey, Kanekun,
これは何の騒
what's
ぎ
all
だ
this about?
バトラ様
Battler-sama. Canon didn't have anything to say. And what can furniture even say, right? George screamed after he ran into the room and told them everything they needed to know. Who did this? I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
ジョージ君
George-kun,
しっかり
hang in there. Natsui touched George's shoulder with her hand. He violently shook her off. George fell over beside Ava and buried his face in the bed front of his mother's face, wailing. Then he pounded on the bed with his fist, over and over again. George Nissan, hang in there.
しっかり バトラ
Battler,
バトラ様
Battler-sama. Battler had his back against the wall in the hallway, and was covering his eyes with his right hand, weeping without restraint. Horrible. That's horrible. He proposed to the girl he loved and lost her the next day. And on the same day, even his mom and dad were killed. Isn't that too harsh? Of course, it's sad whether anyone dies, no matter who it is. But the battler, those left alone by the deaths of others, were far more worthy of pity. Everyone here now had lost someone close to them. George wasn't the only one to be pitied. However, George's pain was far greater than everyone else.
バトラ
I know. Everyone dies sooner or later. If you're human, you'll eventually reach a time where you gotta fight the sorrow of losing someone close to you. But still, shouldn't that day be far in the future? Reniki? And shouldn't those deaths visit him one at a time? Horrible. It's too horrible. That bastard! That bastard! Does he even have to speak of human sympathy in him? Don't cry, don't cry. Maria tried to comfort Battler in a mechanical sounding voice. Battler violently wiped his tears. He just pushed her. Yeah. Damn it. I won't cry anymore. Tears of regret, tears of sadness. I won't shed them again. It's all useless. The witch has got me back into a corner. I'm always on the defensive. And that's useless. It's all useless. I'll spin the chessboard around. That bastard probably thinks we'll be running scared, like sheep until tomorrow before we try anything. But guess what? I'll spin it around. Bastard can't escape this island until tomorrow either. We won't be hiding away, pissing ourselves. That bastard will. I'll expose you. You'll see. By tomorrow. No, then. Screw that. Screw tomorrow. Tonight. Before tonight's over, I'll be gripping you by the collar. That was an intense scene. I love Balor's little monologue at the end. It was
とにかくこの部屋は
amazing.
警察が来るまでこのままにして施錠します
The time we got 2 hours and 22 minutes. Been going. Should I keep going? This is our 10th stream for the first book. Probably get like 2 more streams out of this. I know we're getting pretty close to the end right now. Well, yeah, it's probably ended tonight. Ended right here. Where's this save? I don't want to check. Did these are our only things we have for notes? Okay. The character things change? Out of curiosity. Oh, Ava and Hideyoshi are dead now. Okay, so what does it say? Found on the bed of a guest room inside the mansion, with a weapon resembling an ice pick sticking out of her forehead. Ushimiya Hideyoshi. Found in the bathroom of the same guest room that Ava was found in. Like Ava, there was a weapon resembling an ice pick sticking out of his forehead. You can't see either of them by looking through the gap of the door while the chain is set. You can't see them, so you can't reach them. Hey, how could a human possibly kill them? It's getting closer, guys. The witching hour is almost upon us. It's almost here. Almost here. Now let me just go to this screen for now. But yeah, that's gonna be it for tonight. Thank you for anyone who just popped in, and just for a second, you know I love you. So tomorrow, I know I need to finish up a couple games, and I shouldn't be starting anything new, but I just downloaded Honkai Rail on my PlayStation, so I'm eager to play it. I'm eager to see it. One of the reasons why I think I didn't finish on Genshin is because I kind of started kind of late, and I see all these different characters, and I had to catch up to everybody. I don't know, something about it. I didn't fully like it, I guess you could say. So I like Genshin. I thought the play through was fun. The little bit of the lore I got to experience was interesting. The characters are cool, but I didn't like the grinding, if that makes sense. I thought it was too repetitive and wasn't enough rewarding. I don't know. But I want to give Honkai a try. So if we do stream tomorrow, that's what we're gonna stream. Then on either Tuesday or Wednesday, we're gonna do a little cooking. It's gonna like cooking simulator. We're gonna do that. So yeah, that's the kind of things also for the week. On Thursday and Friday, not sure. We'll figure it out. But we're gonna do the VNs on the weekends. Okay, that's my little update for now. Alright, gotta go. Love you all. Have a great day, or night, or evening, wherever you may be in the world. And we will see each other sometime soon. Catch y'all later. Bye-bye. No, it's not the right. It's more like... I'm sorry, I forgot to fix that. So, let me say that one more time. It's almost like I screwed something up like I always do. Okay, now we can leave.